The Golden State Warriors entered the 2025-26 season expecting to compete, but they finished with 37 wins and 45 losses, their first full losing season since 2020, and barely held on to the 10th seed before getting knocked out in the play-in. This was supposed to be another run built on the same core that carried them for over a decade. Steph Curry was still playing at an elite level, and there was hope that the roster around them had just enough to stay competitive. But as soon as the season started, it became clear that this was not just one bad stretch, because by game 20, they were 10-10 and balanced around 500 this entire time. The Warriors' problem started with the Jonathan Kuminga situation, as it made things more complicated. Early in the season, he actually looked efficient and comfortable next to Steph Curry, putting up strong numbers on good efficiency. But after a few games, his effectiveness began to plummet again. Data showed that some of the combinations with him in key groups were actually negative overall, both offensively and defensively. That kind of inconsistency matters, most especially to Steve Kerr. He's the type of coach that doesn't let young players develop easily. Add in the reported tension around his long-term role and him requesting a trade, it somewhat affected the team's overall morale. Injuries really played a big role with the Warriors. First was the major injury to Jimmy Butler, who was one of their only reliable secondary scorers. Then Curry missed time with a knee issue, and without him, the Golden State Warriors had a 13-26 record. When they came back, it was already a little bit too late. Moses Moody missed time late in the season as well, which added to constant changes in the rotation. A lot of the players were also in and out of lineups wherein one day they're playing and the next day they're not. The Warriors this season never had a long stretch where the full group was healthy and building rhythm. Instead, it felt like they were adjusting to different lineups every week. Believe it or not, Steve Kerr used 38 different starting lineups during this season, the highest in his tenure and the second most in the NBA. Bad defense set the tone early, and it never really got fully fixed. The Golden State Warriors finished the year around the middle to the lower half of the league defensively, which is a big drop from what they used to be. Their defensive rating sat around 115, making them 17th in the league in defensive rating. That shows up on the court in simple ways. The rotations were late, a lot of shooters were left wide open, and once one mistake happened, the full possession broke down. There were times where Draymond played at a high level defensively, but him alone could not cover the elite playmakers and scorers they play against on a nightly basis. Over a full season, that turns into losses that feel avoidable. But in my opinion, their offense was one of the biggest problems. The Warriors this season attempted the most 3-pointers as a team, yet was only 20th in the 3-point percentage column. You could say that has been a trend for years, but this season it hit harder because every game of this Warriors team is crucial, unlike their previous dynasty teams. There were also third and turnovers as a team, which clearly highlights how sloppy the offense could get. Yes, the Warriors have a system to find the best shot, but at times, they are passing up already good shots for turnovers. It often turned into rush threes, broken possessions, and fast break giveaways. The Warriors lack seasoned veterans who can provide high IQ plays and prevent sloppy turnovers, like with players such as Sean Livingston, Leandro Barbosa, and Iggy. And what's worse is that the offensive problem gets more highlighted when Steph's off the floor. The Golden State Warriors posted a positive 3.9 net rating while shooting 37.4 from 3, but when he sat, that fell to a negative 5.6 net rating and just 33.5% from deep. It also exposed a bigger roster issue that never really got solved during the season. Outside of Steph Curry, the Warriors didn't have a consistent player who could collapse defenses and create simple offensive possession after possession. Even when players like Jimmy Butler or Kuminga have stretches of attacking the rim, it wasn't something the team could rely on every night. Throughout the season showed that many of their most used combinations still leaned heavily toward 3-point shooting and freelance offense. This made their offense easier to predict, especially against disciplined defenses. In other words, if Curry has a bad game or not on the court, their offense becomes stagnant. And considering the Warriors season, every possession really matters. But this offseason is where the Warriors can make changes and adjust accordingly. With them being eliminated from the playoffs, they have a lottery pick available where they can either trade it or use to pick someone that can contribute to their team. Or you never know, they might sneak into the top 4. Personally, I'd like the Warriors to run it back next season with the core of Steph, Draymond, and Kerr, as it's just what worked for the previous years. But if opportunities open like Giannis, well, the Warriors are going to have to make a hard decision. As a Warriors fan myself, I would trade anyone not named Steph. What changes do you think they can make? That's all, and that's 5 minutes.